Welcome to the Game Week 30 video. Now in this game week we only have 5 fixtures, and hopefully you've prepared for this game week by getting in some players appropriate for this game week so you can maximize the number of players in your team, and also got rid of players. Hopefully you haven't got rid of some key players like Aguero and Mesut Ozil, because obviously it might be difficult for you to purchase them again. But yeah, so let's discuss the game week fixtures. First of all, we have Norwich and Man City, and this is a fixture which affects both sides, or both ends of the table. For Man City, if they're going to make any ground, towards overtaking Leicester, you will have to think this is a game where they need to get 3 points off. And similarly for Norwich, after a very disappointing result, 1-0 away to Swansea, against a team who are very much in the neighbourhood of where they are in the table, that was a massive loss for them. And Leroy Fur's assist, some good play from Jack Cork previously, and 1-0 thanks to Gylfi Sigurdsson, who's been informed. So disappointing result for Norwich, who actually got quite a lot of bookings in that game as well. So very much second best in that game, and that's a very disappointing result for them. However, Norwich have been quite positive at home. You could say they have been scoring goals. And Man City, on the other hand, after their 4-0 win against Villa, will be somewhat confident. So how do I see this game going? I think in history, Man City tend to do well in this fixture. So I see this being very much a Man City win. We've seen Aguero with the points and could have easily got a hat-trick last week if he didn't miss a penalty. We've seen Silva get the assists as well. Sterling and Yaya being involved in goals. I think if I had to pick 3 Man City players, for now I wouldn't pick the defenders, because I actually think Man City will be leaking goals in, despite the clean sheet against Villa, who I think Villa are by far the poorest team in the league at the moment. So maybe that's not a true, fair assessment of Man City's defence. But if there was 3 players I had to pick, I would probably say Aguero, Silva, and maybe even Yaya. I think Yaya, later on in games where Pellegrini likes to use him, he almost becomes a second striker. So for those reasons, those are 3 players I'll look at. Maybe instead of Yaya, maybe even Sterling. But otherwise, until De Bruyne is still until De Bruyne doesn't come back, those are the players I'll look at. So yeah, I'm going to go for a Man City win. In terms of 3 o'clock kickoffs, we've got Bournemouth vs Swansea. And Bournemouth winning 3-1 away to Newcastle. Last couple of results have been really big for them. Joshua King has stepped up, a player who I used to have on my team before his injury, and some good finish by him, and also a good goal by Daniels. A lot of people in fantasy have got him, and he, whether that's a fluke or coincidence or whatever, but he definitely is an offensive player, and he's not afraid from taking a shot. So credit to the people that have got him in his team. I think at his value, he's good, and Bournemouth have been keeping clean sheets in general. So and plus, obviously, with the set piece, the penalty kick, I think Daniels is a very attractive option when it comes to defence, considering his value being under £5 million. Now, in terms of Swans, obviously that's discussed. They won 1-0 away, and this is quite a tight fixture because both teams obviously come back from positive results, and I could almost see a draw here. So I think it's going to be a tight game, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was a draw. In terms of Stoke and Southampton, I would like to think that Stoke, they were by far, for me, in terms of pure chances, should have won the game against Chelsea. Going 1-0 down, and considering how many chances Youth had, he did manage to get a goal, before he got substituted, but he's the player I would look at for sure. It looks like Mark Hughes does want to play him in strike as his main striker, so him, Arnautovic, Akiri, those are the players I would look at. And obviously we've got players like Glenn Johnson and Welshard in defence that have been doing well, but offensively those are the players I would look at. Ibrahim Afellay, I think he's still, in terms of what he offers, I would still prefer Shaqiri and Arnautovic over him. Southampton come back from a 1-1 draw, and I think it was a very disappointing result for Sunderland because they were 1-0 ahead, and obviously 2 extra points on the table for them would mean a lot because of the current situation. For Southampton, it's great character, because I think they obviously lost the last game, and really wanting to make sure they don't go on a slippery slope. So for them, it's just after losing against Chelsea, making sure they got something out of the game, in which they did. So credit to Southampton. Van Dijk obviously a threat in set pieces. So that's pretty much it. They do have injuries obviously with Austin, and Shea Long looks like he might have a knock. So Graziano Pella does look like he'll probably spearhead that attack. Where do I see this game going? I think I'm leaning towards a Stoke win, but yeah, I mean, I really am seeing a Stoke win just because of how well they actually did against Stamford Bridge. Let's not underestimate Chelsea. Are better now. Maybe Stoke. I think Stoke had enough chances in that game to win it, and so that's pretty much it. In terms of the game on Sunday, we have Villa and Spurs, and it's a big game for Villa because if they don't get anything out of this game, I mean, it's pretty certain they're the team that's going to get relegated. But if all of a sudden they get 3 points against Spurs, that somewhat makes you think, oh wait, they've beaten a very good Spurs team, then you just never know. So I think this is a defining point. If Villa, if there's any chance of them turning things around, they have to get something in this game, and for me, it has to be 3 points, frankly. Key players for them, obviously Jordan Away, you had a decent chance at the Etihad. Vera too. They've got a few players here and there, but the problem with Villa is we just don't see the goals happening. So that's the main issue. Spurs, on the other hand, obviously the 2-2 draw against Arsenal, and Harry Kane, obviously a big part of what Spurs do. Alderweireld got the goal as well. I think Eriksen's not been getting the goals recently or any assists, but that can turn around very quickly. And I think Spurs will be very disappointed with the Dortmund defeat as well, because it looks like they haven't given themselves any chance to turn it around in the second leg, which might be a good thing in terms of for the league, because although I don't think Pochettino will rest players, but I think it will probably just mean they'll focus more on the Premier League. Where do I see this game going? Look, simple fact is you have to say the favourites are Spurs. And you've got players like Lamelo, looks like he'll be starting along with Kane. Dele Alli does look like he's got a bit of a knock, and whether he plays or not, it's not quite certain. But Dem and Eriksen, I would say, really look very promising to me. You've got Wimmer, for me, who did a very incredible block at the end of the game to prevent Ramsey from making it 3-2. So I think at 4.6 for his value, and considering Pochettino does rotate his wing backs, for his value, I would say, yeah, definitely consider Wimmer. And the last game, which is a Monday game, is Leicester Newcastle. Now, Leicester come back from a very, very important win, 1-0 away against Watford, a game which you would say Watford had chances, and Schmeichel did them great, kept saves, got actually 2 bonus points. Defensive were very resolute. You've got to say Simpson and Morgan are the most appealing defenders to purchase at Leicester at the moment, based on the value. Obviously, you've got other players like Fuchs, who has done well. Also offensively, looks like promising in terms of getting some assists, and Hoof as well. Set pieces that look like he does look like he's going to score. So Mara's getting a very important goal. There's not much to say. I mean, all the key players have been discussed before in terms of Leicester. Newcastle, on the other hand, there's been a lot that's happened. Obviously McLaren's been sacked, and Rafa Benitez has been appointed. Now, thing is, it's very difficult when a manager comes in, because you just don't know how drastic are things going to change in terms of first 11 setup. What I'm pretty sure is it looks like Ayoze Perez might be the one player all of a sudden that might just get that important striker role. So he's someone worth looking at, along with John Jashovi, who always seems to be involved in what they create. But otherwise, for this particular game, I wouldn't really fancy them against Leicester. I think it will be a big result if Newcastle could get something, but you've got to say, Newcastle's away form has been pretty miserable. I think it's second worst after Villa, so you have to go for a Leicester win. So that's my analysis for game week 30, and I just want to leave the video with a message that you don't obviously want to get rid of players who you can't buy back again, so do be wary of that. And for instance, if you have a player whose value is the same as it is in the current market in the game, and you have a free game week transfer, it might be worth getting him out and then maybe getting him in a later date, because you can probably optimize your score for this game week. So there's a few things to consider, and obviously I think a few fixtures have not been confirmed, but soon enough we'll figure out which game weeks have double fixtures for certain teams, and it might be a good idea to start stockpiling for them. So obviously there's 10 teams that have not been playing this week, so I think after this game week it's FA Cup semi-finals, so that reduces it to potentially fewer teams. I think Crystal Palace are now in the semi-final after winning 2-0 away to Reading, so that's one team for sure that will be missing a game week in the future. But do keep an eye out on the FA Cup fixtures. So that's my